All right, everybody, welcome to episode one of Prop Metrics. Okay, for those of you who don't know, this is an app that you can use to assess the housing market wherever you're located in the United States. To start things off, let's hit up Arlington Heights, Illinois, which is where I'm from. This is in the Chicago suburbs, okay? You can see when I put in my zip code, it takes me to the default view, which shows me the median home value prices of where I searched. But in reality, you can do anywhere in the United States. You can do Grand Rapids, you can do Pittsburgh, you can do New York City. World's your oyster, all right? So getting back to the Chicago area, we have a lot of cuts that we can take a look at here. We can look at home value growth year over year. We can look at median household income. We can look at where work from home people are moving. Lots of fascinating trends. Look, I mean, you'd think that people in these outer rings would be working from home, but they're not. It's the most growth in work from home is people who live right next to where the jobs are. Fascinating stuff. You can look at the value to income ratio, right? This is going to be dividing the median home price or by the median household income. So you can get a sense of just how overpriced things are to relative incomes. Major trends, and even in the Chicago area, which by all means is a pretty equitable place, all things considered. You can look at what the crash was like in the last financial crisis. You can look at one-bedroom rental prices. You can look at two-bedroom rental prices. You can look at the home cost for two beds. There's just so much possibility for this tool to help you find your next real estate investment. I personally love this cut. This is showing you what your two bed or one, two, three, four bed cash flow would be if you bought a typical property and rented it out at market rates, right? You can see this very clearly is showing, hey, if I'm trying to buy a cash flowing rental, where should I be buying and where should I not be buying? And it looks like most of downtown is not a great place to be buying something if your goal is to rent it out profitably each month. But we obviously know that your profitability is highly dependent on what your financing terms are. You can see that if I'm increasing the interest rate or the down payment considerably, a lot of places are showing potential cash flow that previously weren't. You can look at the how the market's doing as far as listing counts go. Are we seeing an increase in listings from last year than the year before? Are homes sitting on the market longer? How long they're sitting on the market? And this gives you some pretty obvious trends that are super actionable, right? Like homes downtown, they're sitting on the market way longer than homes in the burbs. If you see a property you like out here and you want to put in a competitive offer, that's something that this can show you and tell you, right? We can look at a lot of things here. We can look at housing supply. We can look at where populations are growing, where they're shrinking. You can see that people are moving downtown. I don't have it in the tooltip here, but this is the population growth from uh, 2000, 2018, I believe, to 2023. And so, you can see where people are moving out of, where they're moving to. One thing that's pretty hot, if you ask me, is where are the Section 8 eligible units? Okay, so this is something that I'm trying to get into soon, right? Purchasing Section 8 properties, renting them out, and just taking a view of Chicago, right? You have basically a ground truth reality that there's tons of parts of the city and suburbs that do not do Section 8, right? And the reality is it's mostly in the burbs. And then here's the South Side where, of course, a great proportion of people are under Section 8. You can look at what's the occupancy rate for various Section 8 jurisdictions. And let's say you're trying to buy a property, okay? And one great thing about Section 8, besides the fact that you're being paid by the government, not your tenant, is that sometimes you will have the government pay you more than the market would, right? So you find you find the exact property you listed, you have it rented out on the market, you have it rented out via Section 8. you can do better very often on Section 8 than you would if you were to rent that place out on the market. And you can see that there are plenty of places, especially Hyde Park, South Shore. I love this area, by the way. If I were to buy Section 8, it would be here because you can get pretty prime cash flow from these types of from these locations. And then you can see a lot of, where are the college grads moving. That's actually broken right now, so please ignore that. um, I showed you work from home. We can look at where are where are foreigners moving to. You can see that the foreign-born population is really decreasing in the city. And where are immigrants moving to? Well, the answer is the burbs. And that's where they're choosing. Anyway, I know this is a rushed video and I'm not the greatest presenter, but you can see that there's a lot of great potential in this app for you to make your next home investment data driven and hopefully profitable. Anyway, best of luck. Happy Saturday.